It could be said that our views on race in society are a blend of perception and reality. There is, of course, the influence of the lives we lead day to day. And then there's the perception that is shaped through what we see in the media. Tonight, Channel 2's Reggie Harris looks at that as he joins us now to continue his series, New York in Black and White. Reg?
Carol, as you know, those of us who work in media often wonder if we're reflecting public thought or leading the public to think a certain way. Ideally, there should be a spectrum of images, good and bad portrayals of all races and cultures, but from black New Yorkers, we keep hearing that's not always the case.
I think that in New York City, the media approach has brought it to a point where black equals criminality.
Don't believe the hype.
The reporting is careless to the degree that it allows notions like blacks are genetically predisposed to crime or culturally predisposed to crime.
False media, we don't need it, do we?
It's fake, that's what it be to you, dig me?
We get too much Ed Koch, too much George Steinbrenner, too much Al Sharpton. That you get unrepresentative characters.
Don't believe the hype.
Any controversial story draws criticism of how news media handles it. Covering New York's racial problems has brought shots from all sides.
I'm not berating the news media, but they come here and they sensationalize this and they make it bigger than what it is.
Even when the story is not racial trouble, but involves subjects who are of different races, race can figure heavily in news coverage.
The American Jewish Committee studied coverage of the Central Park rape and found that race was mentioned as a possible explanation for the attack more than twice as often as any other factor, but that 80% of the time, race was dismissed as irrelevant. There is no scientific study yet of the Bensonhurst murder coverage, but Dr. Ansley Hammett, an anthropologist researching criminal behavior at John Jay College, says there were obvious differences in the way news organizations covered both crimes.
The Central Park mugging was greeted with universal condemnation. There was a media blitz running for several weeks in which the choice expression to describe these black youth were pigs, animals, God knows what else. I didn't hear those epithets being used in the Bensonhurst case. I didn't even see the word wilding appear once.
Was it really a wilding, quote-unquote wilding incident in Bensonhurst because they weren't wandering about seeking a victim?
Well, they were certainly combat ready.
News media may seem preoccupied with New York's racial issues, but other media, among them advertising, talk radio, and popular music, are also sending messages about race.
Dr. Mark Nason, a Fordham University urban studies professor, says expressions of racial hostility are becoming more acceptable among whites.
You see this in radio talk shows where people are using ethnic slurs as part of humor. You see it in the lyrics of some rock and roll songs.
Police and niggas, that's right. Get out of my way. Don't need to buy none of your gold chains today.
It's inconceivable to me that a popular song could use the word nigger in that context and not be challenged on the airwaves, could get by the record companies. That would have never happened even in the 1950s.
Since the early 1970s, advertisers have included a variety of ethnic models in ads, realizing that consumers may buy if they can relate themselves to the product. And now black celebrities have become some of the nation's most successful pitch men and women. Bill Cosby, Michael Jordan, Jackie Joyner-Kersee among the best known. But these ads may also create a distorted impression of African Americans when combined with what's so often seen in news media.
My fear is that the net message that people come away from, white people come away from, is that people of color are either well-known, identifiable, upper-class success stories, or, quite dichotomously, that they are dangerous, violent, potential criminals.
These ads for Benetton clothing are designed to promote racial harmony as well as sell the product. A spokeswoman told me it's the company's philosophy because it does business in 80 countries.
In local media, there often seems to be no middle ground. We either see the rich and famous or the poor and homeless. That distorts reality and can distort our impressions of each other. Now, tomorrow we'll conclude our series with a tough question for all of us. Carol?
A little tough to take a close look right at us. We have a lot to learn.
Look at us and,
Yeah.
And be objective about it, you know.
Well, you're doing a good job. We'll see more tomorrow, huh? Thank you, Rich. Well, for years there has been a dream that seems so simple on the surface, but it's so complicated underneath.